Hi, this is the Hotbox, telling you that this video might have some sensitive stuff in it, so take a second if you need to and go check out something else. Otherwise, please enjoy the show. Welcome to a story that just keeps getting worse. We've been here before, you might remember me. Did you miss me? This guy sure didn't.
Why are you running?
But recently, I've noticed another surge in people adding their voice to this conversation, and it's heartwarming for me to see more creators discussing this and platforming the stories of these people who are coming forward after all of these years. And because of these new discoveries regarding the subject of today's video, and because I like to use this platform to uplift the voices of those who might not have one, we're going to talk about everything one more time. If you're new to the conversation, I have the whole timeline in a playlist that you can watch using the card in this video and the link in the description. Or you can stick with this video because we will be doing some recap of our own here, and I know that this whole situation is big and messy, but we are going to get through it together. So buckle up and let's unpack the story of how Shane Dawson is platforming a YouTuber with a long history of allegations that he unlisted his response to and then proceeded to downplay in his side channel and even make fun of in his music. This is the story of Destery Smith. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to the channel, new and returning, young and old, fans, haters, and everyone in between. If you're new here, why not subscribe? It's quick, it's easy, just takes a second, and you can always undo it, but it really does help out the channel a lot, so thank you. Now, who is Destery Smith? Destery is an old school YouTuber that began a channel alongside his friend Nate. The two were big in the scene YouTube world before eventually going their separate ways. It's worth mentioning that there have been some allegations levied against Nate as well, but he is not the focus of our video today, so we will not be unpacking these. I will leave you to do your own research on that. Now, back to the main topic. I mentioned Shane Dawson earlier.
My God, you're greasy.
We all know Shane. You might remember him from...
I was kissing a lot of fans on the lips.
Shane Dawson enters the story because Shane and Destery have a previous relationship from when Shane would put Destery's show, WTF News, onto his channel. Shane did this with a couple other YouTubers as well.
I love and support anything Shane does. Not to mention, without Shane Dawson, this show wouldn't exist. The greatest opportunity of my entire life, and I'll never forget it. I think if anyone were to shine a positive light on these major pieces of turd, it would be Shane.
You are really saying that with your whole chest, aren't you?
Shine a positive light.
Yeah, because every time I hear the name Shane Dawson, it's always positive.
I was kissing a lot of fans on the lips.
Oh yeah, daddy likes.
Shane and Destery hadn't had any recent public interaction until about a month prior to the release of this video that you're watching right now. Shane made a big community post, and I'm reading it out in full to clarify this because some people in the comments of the last video thought this post was from years ago for some reason, even though it clearly says, starting 2023, the podcast will be weekly. Thank you, Destery Smith, for editing today's podcast. I'm so grateful we met back in 2008, and I'm so excited to work with you and your new company, Triangle Face Productions, in 2023. Hope you guys are enjoying the new episode. I'm so excited I might puke, in a good way. If throwing up and disgust are good things to you, Shane, you'll be happy to know I'm giving rave reviews of your podcast straight to the porcelain bowl in my restroom. Now, the problems with Destery begin in the early part of 2021, when allegations came forward of Destery being inappropriate with multiple fans, several of whom were underaged, as well as allegations that Destery was flirting and trying to cheat with people behind the back of his then partners. And when these claims initially came out, Destery tried to copyright strike them and claimed the videos as harassment and bullying to prevent them from spreading. Struck down one of their victims' videos on the grounds of harassment and bullying. Because apparently, even when people close to you corroborate the story, and when people try to show the world their experiences, it's still harassment.
Hi, no hate to this comment right here. I just kind of want to talk about why I've been torn about saying who this is, because the only reason I've even thought about him is I saw one of his videos on my For You page. I was like, holy This was a YouTuber that I'd been following since I was 12. His entire fan base is young girls, because he was cute, and like the only thing I'm gonna say is he's emo. And I had gotten in contact with him because he had put his Snapchat up on Twitter late at night and said that it was for any of his fans who he wanted to talk to. He was bored, whatever. And so we talk, and not really talk, like, you know, he hits on me, and like he's like, oh, I'm like in the room with the guy I used to film videos with, and it was just very like kind of childhood ruining, because he was like my first crush ever, and to know that he was totally comfortable using me, but like, is that wrong?
Yesterday I made a video letting everybody know that the creepy YouTuber I was talking about was Destery, Destes, and he reported it for harassment and bullying, which, by the way, Destery, stupid thing to do. See, I wasn't even going to tell anybody, you know, the gross stuff that he had sent me or he had told me, because somehow I thought that it was my fault. I thought that I must have been the only girl, you know, who had fell into that. But that's not true. Turns out there's literally tens and tens, maybe even over 100 girls that Destery has done the exact same thing to. The entire comment section was filled with people saying, oh, he tried to get pictures from me when I was 12. Oh, he got a little sister. Oh, he tried to hang out with me when I was 14 in Orlando. Even Nathan, the person he used to make videos with, came out and spoke up about Destery.
I've been friends with Destery since 2003, and I stopped being friends with him in 2017. So basically I've known him for 14 years. And what Destery had told me was that he broke up with his girlfriend Amber and was already dating Evie. And he was telling his girlfriend Amber at the time that the only reason he was talking to Evie was because he wanted to hook her up with me. Long story short, I contacted Amber, who was out of state visiting her parents, and I asked her how her and Destery were doing. She told me that he was telling her that he missed her and that he couldn't wait for her to come home. And that's when his whole web of lies came crumbling down.
Following this, an incredible flood of victims' testimonies came forward, detailing a picture of someone who consistently prioritizes his own pleasure over other people.
So I'm here to share my experience with Smith. Because in 2007, I considered myself part of the emo and scene culture and, you know, would go to shows, meet up with people, fashion, blah, blah, blah. So I did see that posted his Snapchat information online, and he wanted to talk to his fans. Me at the time, I was more interested in learning about YouTube and like what it was like behind the scenes. That was the type of fan I was. I wanted to know like all the details and like how it works. And when I first started talking to him, he asked me, you know, what I did and blah, blah, blah. At the time, I was starting to get into fashion and did a lot of cosplay. So I mentioned to him that I was doing cosplay and I went to competition. When I tell you that this gross mother asked me a whole bunch of sexual questions about hentai and cosplay, disgusting. Long story short, like, we became friends down the road, but got worse. I'd have expected it from someone that's friends with
So I added on Snapchat back in, I want to say 2014. I think I got a response within, I want to say 2 hours, 3 hours. He added me back, sent me lots of hearts, emojis, then proceeded to be very flirty. And I was like, huh? But I knew things were really weird at this point, but I rolled with it, because I was a fan, and I had been dreaming of this moment that he would finally talk to me. But I knew things were really weird at this point, but I rolled with it, because I was a fan, and I had been dreaming of this moment that he would finally talk to me. Let alone the fact that I was a 14-year-old girl, 14, who lived in the middle of nowhere. I was incredibly ill. I was in and out of the hospitals constantly. I was very, very sick. I didn't have any friends. I was a total outcast. So, this being said, I thought maybe I would finally have the chance to have a friend I could confide in and tell everything to that wouldn't take advantage of me, but I was wrong. Which, he was in his 20s. I was 14. I was a 14 ill child, and I thought I was making a friend. He would make comments about me being beautiful or how I wished I lived closer. You know, just generally things a 20-something-year-old man should not be saying to a 14-year-old. I don't give a who you are, but I have a vivid vivid memory of one day when my hair was being ripped out because they had glued wires all in my hair to my head. I shaved my entire head. And this was a really big deal to me. So I had sent him a picture after I shaved my head of me sitting in the doctor's office. And I just said, hi, like, what's up? We talked for a little bit. And he asked why I did it. And I told him it was because all of the wires pulling out my hair. And he made a comment saying, well, don't worry about it. You're still hot either way. Excuse me? I am a 14-year-old girl who just had to shave her head, and you are more worried about the fact that, like, well, you still look hot. You're a fucking creep. What I got about 20 minutes after we had had this conversation of me saying I was upset and pouring my heart out about being upset over me being ill and having to shave my head, I got that little red square on Snapchat out of the blue, and I think you can guess what was in that Snapchat. Again, I didn't really reciprocate flirting or anything, so this was out of the fucking blue to me. Like, that's a grown man. That was a grown man. That was an adult. It was probably one of the biggest heartbreaks I had experienced at that point in my life. It really made me realize that no matter how much I think I can trust somebody, there's always going to be bad people out there. It broke my heart to know that this person I confided in and looked up to for so long was a monster. And who could I tell?
This was in 2014/2015, and it's not something that I've really wanted to come out and talk about, but I was encouraged by them. So in 2014, when I was 18 years old, I signed on a Skype one day and it said online, and I hadn't been on in a while, so I don't know when I added him, but I did start watching his videos in middle school, and he tried to call me and said his video wasn't working, so he sent me his Snapchat. So he gave me his phone number, and I actually watched a new video that he uploaded a few days later where he was talking about his lady friend, and I actually called him out for it because up until this point I hadn't been told anything. And when I called him out about it, he told me that he was with this girl who I'm not going to name, although I'm sure she knows, who he said was very verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive, and that he was trying to get out of it, but he just was stuck. So I thought I was doing kind of like a nice thing. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, like trying to be there for somebody and support somebody through a toxic relationship. He continued to kind of be flirty and very inappropriate. Always told that if I wanted to hang out, I would have to drive down there. He would not come up to see me. And keep in mind this whole time, like, he's always hitting on me. He's always being super inappropriate. But he would disappear. So he would always text me off of, I guess, like a texting app. It wasn't his actual phone number. So he would disappear for like weeks at a time, pop back in, talk about how terrible his girlfriend was, get sympathy because I felt bad, and then disappear again. And this was just a regular thing. He bought me Minecraft and basically put me on his server where he would have like himself and like friends and stuff play, and he would always tell them like, oh, this is my girl, you know, she's really cool, don't worry about her. I told her about the whole Amber situation. Once I left Florida, I kind of left it behind me. I didn't want any part of it anymore because I realized that I was being played. Once I found out that the whole abusive relationship thing was made up just to kind of guilt trip me, because he would constantly say, oh, you're the only good thing in my life, like I have nothing else going for me. I didn't realize that it was something that I wasn't alone in, and realizing that there are people who were actual children when this was being done to them is disgusting. But I did send like kind of suggestive photos, and when I was 20, maybe 21, they were sent back to me from when I was 18 years old. So they'd been held on to for 2-3 years. And when I said, please delete them, I don't feel comfortable knowing you have them, we don't talk anymore, like I really don't want you to have them, I was told, no, they are in a secret place that no one will ever find them, I'm not deleting them.
So I was 14 when I met Destery, aka Captain Destinate, whatever, and he was 20. Then I commented on one of his posts, and then he reached out because he saw that I was like in the area or whatever. We talked back and forth for a couple months, and he would always kind of be weird about like just how lonely he was and how crazy, you know, his life was, and he's so lonely, he just wanted, you know, snuggles or whatever. So we finally met. He wanted me to come hang out at his house. And I was like, oh cool, he actually wants to hang out. So I told my mom I was going to a friend's house for the night, and then he came and picked me up and took me back to his house. So we would hang out and talk in his room, and then he kind of started, you know, getting all snuggly, and I was getting a little uncomfortable. I had no intentions of any sexual activity because, I mean, I was a virgin, so I was just like, we're gonna snuggle and kiss or whatever. He started getting a little handsy and a little weird, and then he would like just talk about his crazy ex and how lonely he was, and I felt bad, you know. So, and me being 14, I didn't have good judgment, and I was like, yeah, you know, whatever, we can do stuff. And then he, you know, went on about how everybody has to show him paperwork to prove they don't have STDs when they, you know, do things with him. But I didn't have to because I was a virgin, and he seemed pretty excited about that. He weirdly kept talking about how small his thing was. Like, he mentioned it a lot. So yeah, we did the deed or whatever, and then he kind of just like sent me home, and then we continued talking for a couple months. I probably went over there about 3 or 4 times in total. He kept like talking to me afterwards. Eventually, like, it just became less and less, and he would chime in like once or twice a year, just to, you know, catch up and see how I was doing. But I think basically it was to see if, you know, he was, you know, I was still wrapped around his finger, I guess. Hopefully somebody can relate. I know there's others out there. I know there's a lot of others out there. Last but not least, there were some pictures sent, and I know for a fact that he has a file of photos of underage girls, and it's just disgusting.
Like, we exchanged messages for like a month, and he was really flirty when I was 16. And just to make things explicitly clear, I never flirted back with him. I think that's why he stopped talking to me.
I never really thought I was gonna make a TikTok, but here we are. I was shown some videos earlier today of some people coming forward and talking about their experiences and their interactions with Destery Moore, also known as Captain Destes. I was a freshman in high school. I was on Twitter, and he had tweeted something one night like, oh, here's my Skype name. Add me on Skype, and if I have some free time, I'll add some of you back. Maybe I'll call you, maybe I'll message you, whatever. I was 14, so I messaged him probably 3 times that night alone, just saying like, hi, I love you, hello, like, please notice me. Probably 2 months later or so, I was getting ready for school one morning, and I had a message on Skype. It was from Destery, and I just saw his name pop up and immediately started freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, Destery messaged me. And I opened it, and it said, hi cutie, or something along those lines. It was something really close to that, like, hi cutie, hey, you're cute, something like that. I ended up talking kind of frequently, actually, to the point where he gave me his email so we could message on iMessage. One night, I remember very specifically, I was sitting in my room doing homework, and he texted me and asked if I could send him a video of me twerking. Anyway, so things kind of progressed from there. There was one time that he had me send him some pictures, you know, so I sent him some pictures, whatever. He texted me back a photo of his bed sheets, of his bed, with on it, and said, ooh, look what you made me do, like, with a winky face. And I was like, okay. But either way, you can't send that to a 14-year-old, man, like. And he got a lot more serious on the whole, like, hey, you should come visit me, we should meet in person. For some context, I live in Illinois, and he lived or lives in Florida. And I was 1, too young to have a license, and 2, too young to have a job. So there was no realistic way of me getting to Florida. I told him that, and his response was, you should ask your mom to drive you. You really think that was gonna go well? Kind of like stopped talking after that, I guess. And actually, from what I understand, he either was in a relationship or had just started dating somebody when we stopped talking.
So this is my experience with Captain Destes, aka Destery Smith. So I'm from Florida. I've lived in Florida for most of my life, and there's this convention called Playlist Live. I went there a lot when I was younger, early 2010s and everything, and that's where I met Destery Smith for the first time in 2013. This is a photo of me, Nathan, and Destery right there. That's me when I was about 13 years old. And another photo of us when I was also only 13 years old, if I didn't look like it. But I mean, it's pretty obvious if you can't tell. Basically, I looked up to him a lot. And then soon after the convention, he followed me on Twitter, and crazy enough, he ended up moving to the same town I lived in. But I just thought it was crazy, and I was like, holy shit, maybe I could hang out with him. We ended up making plans to meet at the mall together. Keep in mind, he's probably 20-something years old at this point, and I'm 13. I thought it would be so cool to just be friends with him. Now, in retrospect, I'm 20, almost 21 myself right now. I would never hang out with a 13-year-old. He ended up not showing up. I was really disappointed. I messaged him when I got home on Twitter, and he didn't respond or anything, and we kind of talked a little bit afterwards, and I didn't really bring it up, but I was real disappointed. We were talking about getting toys at Spencer's, and it was creepy. I think he might have been flirting a bit there as well, and he undoubtedly had ulterior motives. He unfollowed me a little bit after that, and eventually we just stopped talking. He definitely knew what he was doing.
Destery proceeded to upload a response to these allegations, although response is being generous, as the general consensus is that Destery's account conveyed no real responsibility being taken. Instead, Destery aimed to downplay his allegations as all in the past and refused to acknowledge exactly what he was being accused of by name. Additionally, he turned off comments, likes, dislikes, and privated all of his social media around that time.
So I took some time away from the internet to try to assess how to handle everything going on right now, in the hopes that what I say will reach an actual audience and not just people that want to see me fall.
This feels like code speak for, I wanted to see if everything would die down so that I can still sucker in whoever stuck around.
So first off, I just want to say I am aware of accusations being made against me, and what I can say is while I can't agree with some of the things being said about me, I'm also not completely innocent in everything.
Yeah, Guy, I think you're a little more than not innocent. I think you're guilty. I don't think there's anything for you to not agree with.
I will say that nothing is completely black and white. There are obviously two sides to every story, and especially the ones that I can personally take accountability for. So what I can and will admit to is that I used to be just a terrible person. I was a big piece of shit. I have been very vocal about the fact that I was a big piece of shit. It has never been something that I've ever tried to hide. In fact, my mom will be the first person to tell you that I was a terrible person. I was a liar, a cheater. I was a giant man whore in my past. I tried to see multiple women at the same time. A terrible friend? Absolutely. But do I think I'm any of those things anymore? No, I really don't. Am I any of the other things that people are saying about me? Absolutely not. However, I am constantly sorry about the person that I was, and I'm constantly saying sorry for the person that I was, constantly trying to distance myself from the person that I used to be even 5 years ago. And truthfully, I think I've come a long way. I mean, depending on how long you've watched me on this channel, I'm sure you can see the same thing about me and my content. I am not the same person I was 12 years ago when I started my first channel.
You talk about taking accountability. Just one question. When? Do you think just making a video on a topic is taking accountability? No. You say that you're sorry, and you do what you have to make things right. And in your case, that is getting away from any platform where you could still commit these acts or remind your victims of what you did.
I've made friends, I've lost friends, I've made lovers, I've lost those lovers. I've made constant mistakes, I've failed dozens of times. But each one of those things was a lesson that made me who I am today, and less of the person that I used to be and the qualities that I hated about myself. Whatever I was, I'm not that person anymore.
I'm not the same person. Where have I heard that before?
The fact that I cheated on my girlfriend with people who I didn't realize were even underage in the first place. But I promise you I'm not that same person anymore.
Whatever I was, I'm not that person anymore. Not that person anymore.
Duster got his original victims' videos claimed to try and suppress the message.
Not that person anymore.
Oh yeah, that's where. Dusty, if you're saying sorry so often, how come I don't hear it in this video? How come I didn't hear it at the start where it belongs? How come I didn't hear it throughout? I hear you say the word sorry in a sentence, but I don't hear you actually apologize. Do you see my problem here?
That said, I am still human. Those aren't the last mistakes I'll ever make. And if there's anything I ever do that's shitty, that irks you, or I make you uncomfortable, or you think that I step over the line, communicate that with me. Let me know these things. Because another thing to note is that my brand is jokes. My brand is weird, creepy humor. It's always been that way, and it will probably always be that way. It's just who I am, and that's presumably why you started watching me in the first place. But I would still like to be told when something I do crosses a boundary, whether that be something I say in a video or something that is proven to be true about me as a person. Communicate that with me.
Are you kidding me? Listen, Destery. When there's stories about your advances not being reciprocated and you still proceeding with them, that's kinda someone letting you know, alright? But not just that, it shouldn't be other people's responsibility to tell you when something you're doing's wrong, right? You should be able to read the air. Own your actions, man, and face the consequences.
And with any accusation, normally in an ideal world, you are innocent until proven guilty, but I have only ever seen it to be the opposite. Anyone online is always guilty until proven innocent, and I can't support that idea. And as such, I know that a ton of people have already made up their minds about this situation, and even if I was to explain context of some of the things being said about me, not only would it not help people's image of me, but it would also be dragging someone else's name through the mud. And that is just something I can't do. Even if it exonerates me and everything is great, but it was at the expense of someone else being thrown under the bus, I just won't do it.
Okay, listen closely. Now is not the time to talk about innocent until proven guilty. Because yes, that is a good school of thought to have, most of the times. But it doesn't really apply when there's so much evidence against you that things kind of become undeniable. You feel me? You talk about how, oh, I have this way that I can save myself, but I'd have to do this to another person and I won't do that because I'm such a good person. You see, I've changed, guys. If you think that's how you demonstrate change, you have some serious reconsideration to do.
So I understand that some of you won't accept that answer, and if this is where we say goodbye, I understand. Just know that I feel blessed to have been in your life at all. But to those who choose to continue to grow with me, just know that I will continue to distance myself from the piece of shit that I used to be. I have been, and I will continue to strive every day to be the best version of myself. And as I said, if I ever slip up or you feel like I fail, communicate that with me. Also, really quick, I do want to say I disabled comments on this video simply to prevent people from fighting in the comments. The last thing I want to do is to spread any more negativity than has already been spread, so please understand the purpose in that decision. That said, feel free to reach out to me. If you do choose to reach out to me, please make sure it is one of the links in the description down below of this video. My previous 2 Snapchats were hacked, and on both occasions I reached out to Snapchat to see what could be done, and apparently nothing could be done about it. So for safety reasons, yes, please don't contact anyone saying that they're me. That isn't one of the links in the description down below. I don't have a kick. I don't have a public phone number. That being said, thank you for listening and for giving me a chance to be heard.
Yeah, you got a chance to be heard. I just don't like what I hear. And if shutting himself off from criticism wasn't enough, Destery then proceeds to unlist the response and continue to upload like nothing happened. You can see that several following videos are missing a like to dislike ratio. There's a space where the response belongs and it's missing. The signs are all there. This man thought there weren't enough eyes on him and thought that he could slip under the radar, but no, we see it and it's shameful and dishonest. Destery, you downplayed the allegations in private to people who reached out to you. You said, I can assure you it's bad, but it's not as bad as people are making me seem. Just let me prove I'm not a terrible person. Haha, when are you going to do that? When? And when D-Fizzy expressed his problems with you and a mutual viewer brought these opinions to you, you responded not to him, but to the viewer and said, "Aw, that's a bummer. I always wondered why he didn't speak to me or seemed to dislike me, and I guess now I know. Although I harbor no bad feelings for him at all, he's certainly entitled to his own opinion. Also, as far as allegations go, I've had a long past with people accusing me of a bunch of shit simply for attention. The fact of the matter is, I know myself, and I know that regardless of making some dumbass choices in my life that luckily, like any decent human being, I've learned from. But I can safely and confidently say I know I'm not a cheater, and I never sleep with anyone underage. And even though that upsets me he would say something like that, I don't hate the guy. From what it sounds like, he's going through some shit. The manipulation is off the charts. You're trying to make yourself appear like the good guy? Oh, I don't hate the guy. Sounds like he's going through some shit. I know myself. The problem is, we know you now too. Oh, and is 14 not a minor? Is 15 not a minor? When did those rules change, Destery? And then you have the audacity to insinuate that all of these allegations are for attention? The victims all have narratives that display a consistent and shady MO from you. These people don't have pre-existing platforms, no pre-existing power, and they're coming out with these stories against you with a larger, much more powerful fan base. They are risking hate and harassment. This isn't some game for attention or to tear you down for fun. This is people wanting justice after years of being silenced. Now, I talked about new findings earlier, and this is one of them because the only other video that Destery has made that even remotely acknowledges his allegations came on his second channel, Homeless Emo Father. It seems to be a side dump channel for vlogs and similar content. The video, titled Cancel Culture, contains Destery briefly talking about the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial and using it as a way to frame himself in the position of Johnny Depp, of someone ostracized and wrongfully canceled. First off, let's not sensationalize a very real domestic violence trial. Second, Johnny Depp comparisons and rants in a car. Where have I seen this before?
You see that iMac Pro back there? I gotta sell it now because you got my Patreon deleted.
So it's been a few weeks since the whole Amber Heard trial went down, and I'll be honest, I was following it pretty closely. Like, I was watching it pretty much every day, and not only because I was like a Johnny Depp fan, still am a Johnny Depp fan, but also the whole trial really was a reflection on cancel culture as a whole.
I'm gonna stop you right there. It was not a trial about cancel culture. It was a trial about defamation and domestic in a relationship. Cancel culture as a term is too casually thrown around, and people who are accused of serious crimes like to take advantage of that and use it as a cover to mitigate the scope of their misdoings.
Like, when Amber Heard came out, you know, against Johnny Depp to begin with, saying that he was like a or whatever, the whole world was just like, okay, cancel Johnny Depp. He's the worst human being ever. How dare he? It, right? And it wasn't until he came out with like his own evidence that was stronger that people started to be like, oh, no, just kidding, cancel Amber Heard. Like, no matter what the outcome of the trial is, in the court of public opinion, Amber Heard just took the largest L known to man, right? And I think that, like, even if there are people out there that are like pro Amber Heard, I haven't really encountered anyone that is, but whether you're pro Amber Heard or pro Johnny Depp, I think that one thing we can all agree on is that Johnny Depp did not want to be in this trial. Like, to have his life out there for the public to scrutinize, to dig through, but he had to in order to tell his truth and to come back from the slander and stuff that Amber Heard had done to him. And one thing that he said pretty early on in the trial is that he is not okay with the way of the world where in this day and age, you are guilty until proven innocent and not the other way around. And as someone who has personally been affected by cancel culture, I can say like 100% agree.
You talk about as someone who is affected by cancel culture. Do not compare a situation involving abuse to the circumstances that you find yourself in right now. You are not on the level of a victim of domestic abuse. You are allegedly the one doing the abuse. You were a creator with a platform who took advantage of that power. People realized how you were manipulating them and wised up. They came forward, and you came forward back with a piss-warm response that you unlisted. You want people to so earnestly believe that you are good and to take your word for it when you have given no word to stand on. I will stand with the people with the heaps of evidence and testimony versus the guy in the cab of an '08 Subaru.
Making this my astrology sign, Subatarius.
Your victim's trauma is not cancel culture. You know what? I'm gonna fix your shirt. 1 second. Perfect.
Because that's the thing. Like, if someone ever says anything bad about you, the kind of general consensus of what to do to combat that is to bark back, is to say, no, here's why you're wrong, and everything you said is a fucking lie and bullshit. And the problem that I have with that is just that it perpetuates cancel culture. You are never out of it. You see what I mean? Like, even if you were able to disprove every, like, negative thing ever said about you, all you're doing then is just shifting the blame to someone else.
While this narrative is consistent to the one that you gave in your original unlisted apology video, it still does not fit your current situation. You talk about not being able to be free or break the cycle, when you yourself said that you could prove the allegations brought against you wrong. Actually, you didn't even say that. You said you could explain the context, whatever that means.
And with any accusation, normally in an ideal world, you are innocent until proven guilty, but I have only ever seen it to be the opposite. Anyone online is always guilty until proven innocent, and I can't support that idea. And as such, I know that a ton of people have already made up their minds about this situation, and even if I was to explain context of some of the things being said about me, not only would it not help people's image of me, but it would also be dragging someone else's name through the mud. And that is just something I can't do. Even if it exonerates me and everything is great, but it was at the expense of someone else being thrown under the bus, I just won't do it.
And the thing is, this isn't some out of context clip from a vlog or a stream or a video. This isn't cancel culture. This is abuse to real people and alleged crimes against children. I think if there was a time to clear your name and speak up, it would be now. You're not being a hero by not throwing someone else under the bus. You wouldn't have to do it like that to prove yourself innocent. You could come forward, say your piece, provide evidence, and apologize straight to the victims' faces, but instead, you sit here, glued to your chair by beanie grease, telling people that you have to take the high road and not say anything.
Don't let your kids watch it.
So yeah, after watching like the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, I just sort of related to that. And why I mentioned that it's important to have stronger evidence, you know, of like Johnny Depp being actually abused by Amber and not the other way around, is that it's not enough to simply say, I didn't do the thing that some person said about me. You have to literally be able to like prove that, and not even just prove that, but also prove that that person had a reason to lie about it.
Yes, that's called evidence. That's how proving a point works. You make a claim, you provide evidence. It's not new to need evidence to back up your point. They didn't just invent it yesterday. And if people took everything that everyone else said at face value without evidence, we'd all be much worse off. The thing is, you understand the need to raise awareness of people doing these things, especially online. You understand people online abusing their platform to control vulnerable children. Do you remember that Austin Jones video?
In the chats, he would tell the girls what to do, say, and wear specific things, and this is where it gets the most fucked up. He asks the first girl to send him a video of her twerking while at the same time talking about how young she is in the video.
He texted me and asked if I could send him a video of me twerking.
Where's Chris Hansen when you need him?
So if you know better, why did you do it too?
As someone who has had plenty of people say negative things about me, I just wanted to talk about it because I think that, you know, it is interesting to hear different people's points of views on how cancel culture is. Like, here's the thing. I think that cancel culture serves a purpose when there are genuinely bad people out there. Okay, like, I understand why it exists. I understand that it's not going to probably go anywhere and it's only going to get worse. But I also understand, as someone who's had to deal with it, everything is not just plainly black and white. And another thing that we can say about the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing is, like, another thing that we can probably all agree on is that no matter what the results of like who did what, we can agree that they were just not right for each other and that it definitely was in a toxic, volatile relationship. And so in that respect, I want to say like no one was really in the wrong, but obviously there's people in the wrong if they're doing terrible things. It's just that it is not so plainly black and white.
Okay, because I do try to see both sides of a situation, yes, cancel culture does good work sometimes. Yes, cancel culture also goes too far sometimes. These statements can coexist. As well as, yes, things are not always black and white. But Destery, with your situation, it's not a fucking rainbow. These things brought against you are pretty straightforward, and this continued Johnny Depp-Amber Heard analogy is doing you no favors. Yes, people in positions of power with continuously shady records will exist and continue to be shady unless we stop them. The problem is that you're one of these people too.
You know what I mean? And so yeah, when I was going through like everything that I had to go through, my mentality about the whole thing was like, yeah, I could sit here and disprove literally every single thing that people are saying about me, or like add context to everything, or even in some cases be like, I have never heard of this person, I don't know this person or anything. I guess eventually I just decided, like, what is the point? Because all that it's going to achieve is shifting the blame, to drag someone else's name in the mud in the same way that, you know, mine had been. And so that's why I say, like, obviously Johnny Depp didn't want to be at that court hearing, because it's especially painful to have to do that to people that you once held very near and dear to your heart. And, you know, I'm sure that in Johnny Depp's heart, he knew that he wasn't ever going to go back to the way things were with Amber, or even like his life wouldn't ever be the same, but still didn't want to, you know, drag her name through the mud. So yeah, anyways, that's all I just wanted to rant about. Yeah, I could sit here and disprove literally every single thing,
Then you should. Nobody wants to believe that you're a bad person. Your fans don't want that. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. If you can prove that you're innocent, then for the sake of yourself and of those that you were important to, you should. But you're not giving us a lot of reason to believe that you are innocent, or even have that evidence in the first place. Listen, I'm sure that there are people and videos out there that are made out of pure hate, and I'm not condoning any of those videos. Videos like this are made to criticize and to highlight these allegations and stories, because you do still sit on a high platform, one that only stands to grow now that you are under the wing of one of the oldest and largest names on all of YouTube. That grants you an audience that might not know everything you've done, or possibly refuse to believe that you're a bad person at all. And if nobody talks about it, then it leaves the opportunity for what happened before to happen again. Coming out with videos like this that simply cry cancel culture in the face of the allegations brought against you completely defeat the real point that's trying to be made. Things don't look good for you, and even entertaining the idea that you are as innocent as you say you are, you're not doing a good job of making it look that way. You're not behaving like an innocent person tends to. Innocent people don't hide their responses or make straw man arguments against cultural movements. They come forward with their evidence and they stand their ground. And I know this is a long tangent, but if Destery wants to call these videos over the line or harassment, he has no ground to stand on. Don't get upset at me talking about and criticizing your alleged actions when you give yourself no ground to stand on, because that leaves me no ground to defend you on. Oh yeah, I have no clever segue for this, so here's Destery saying a bunch of slurs.
Because it's being a bit of a...
Yeah, this is the man being platformed by a channel of millions. Birds of a feather, huh?
She's black. She doesn't even know how to, she just slaps her keyboard.
Destery's attempts to downplay his situation really show in his new channel trailer. Yes, in recent months, Destery has uploaded a get-to-know-me style channel trailer in an attempt to redefine and reframe his image to the public.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here in downtown Vancouver, Washington, which is one of my favorite places. And we're currently right kind of in front of the waterfront. And I wanted to show you guys more of the waterfront park because it's like super pretty. And I thought I'd do this video here because, why not? Do you got a problem? You got a problem with me being in the forest again? Step up, I dare you. What are you gonna do, huh? Yeah, ooh, oh. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just make this video because I realize it's been a long time since I've actually just introduced myself and who I am. And you know, I don't imagine that many of you are sitting there like, yo, who the hell is this guy? But at the same time, for the sake of me having a more personal connection with you, I just thought it might help if we get to know each other a little better.
Destery spends time recounting the various steps in his career, reminiscing over the good old days. But if your good old days were on Shane Dawson's channel, were they really good days at all?
There's currently people screaming in the background. It's probably not good. Hello, welcome. I'm the bouncer. Come right in. I'm just kidding. I'm just a weirdo with a camera. I just can't believe how much I love sex. Like, just sex in general is just super great. Hey, how's it going? Just talking about sex. Yeah.
Did those people instigate a conversation, or are you just bothering people while they're walking? That was the most uncomfortable laugh I've heard all day, and I had dinner with my in-laws. Although, at the very least, you really weren't lying when you said your brand was weird, inappropriate jokes. You just forgot to mention that they aren't very funny.
I also write hip-hop stuff as well. I have a side project called Lil Mistake, where I just sort of write about random ridiculous shit, or as just a way for me to vent emotionally.
So tell half the story, lie about the past, don't mention how much I'd support your ass. Delete your shit to cover up your guilt. Is it getting too tight in the grave you built?
This is evidence of Destery claiming Lil Mistake as his own work. Don't worry, Destery, there wasn't a long line waiting to do that. Destery also puts on blast bars that are about his allegations that downplays them as telling half the story. We've reviewed a little bit of Destery's music as Lil Mistake on this channel. I'll give you a recap of that. Let's do some criticism and review. Yes, I actually suffered through these tracks, so you don't have to. Lil Mistake's music comes off as trite and unsubstantial. The straight club has a lackluster beat that underscores a lyrical mess. What tries to be a narrative on hypermasculinity falls flat on its face. The punchline of, "Man is in a club, oh wait, turns out it's a gay club. Haha, he's gay. Laugh," is not a punchline, it's just in poor taste. As part of the LGBTQIA+ community, we have plenty of ways to laugh about our sexualities and identities that don't involve trivializing it down to just man sucking pee-pee equals funny. Other tracks like Lies, Middle Fingers Up, Hoes Mad, and Big Oopsie play like platforms for Lil Mistake to diss his accusers with a complete absence of vocal flow.
Your accusations you made seem more like a list of complaints, but at least I got a good chuckle from the awful picture you paint like I'm an egotistical maniac. Yeah, you'd think that'd show spouting off your bullshit that I use every person that I know.
Why yes, your ego does show, because you have to be pretty entitled to think that writing these kinds of lyrics is a good idea in your situation. And with self-aggrandizing lyrics like what you wrote in Lies, you certainly give the impression of being full of ego.
You know, I just gotta ask, how's the view from down there? It must sting even worse when your life is going nowhere. Context doesn't really matter, I'm still canceling him. I see destroying his life as an absolute win. That'll teach you. I hope you are sleeping in fear. Good thing I've got no life, so I can keep this up for a year. Why am I the villain? You knew what you were getting into. How is casual dating being turned into an issue?
Casual dating is hardly what I'd call it when you send unsolicited pictures to minors on Snapchat or when you cheat on your partner. With lyrics like those on Hoes Mad, you want to call people like your victims and like channels covering you irrelevant? I pull more views than you just by sneezing.
You only keep this drama going because you think that it's fun. You want to ruin people's lives for the hell of it. Because it's the only way you will ever be relevant.
Nobody's trying to ruin your life, you did that to yourself with the choices you made. People simply want a little more accountability than what's being shown. Let's also take some lines from Big Oopsie.
Yeah, it's true. I tried to see several women at once. But every single one of them knew what it was. I love the attention, and it's nice to see my name so many times on my Twitter feed. If it's a crime to worship P-word, take me away.
Worshipping pussy is not a crime. What is a crime, though, is allegedly distributing sexual images to minors. Real original, dude. Lil Mistake's music is self-serving sonic garbage that fails to convey anything of substance. L+ ratio. Wow, wasn't that grating? Alright, back to the video.
I am taken by a wonderful lady, and I feel like I'm very traditional when it comes to relationships. Like, you know, power to anyone that can do polyamory, but I can't give myself to more than one person at a time, like emotionally.
Destery, you talk a lot about commitment for someone who is DMing people things like this. I could pay you to be my sex slave, but it would be like $5 an hour, and I last about 3 minutes. Ha 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 ha. If I was single, would you actually let me hit on you? Something tells me that's not stopping you. Guys, I can't really do polyamory. Yeah, it's no fun when they know that I'm fucking other women.
So if you're a band and you're looking for a music video or just need to direct something, I'm your guy. This guy right here. A couple friends and I actually launched a production company called Triangle Face Productions, and I'll have the links for that if you want to send an inquiry or anything like that.
This part is important because it's evidence of Destery claiming ownership of Triangle Face Productions, which is the label that Shane has brought on to edit his podcast. This is not to be understated, because this does not mean that Destery is simply being platformed by Shane. This makes him and Shane established business partners, which represents a very big commitment. The rest of the video remains relatively mundane. Destery talks about food, movies, his love for Zelda and video games. He plugs his Twitch a lot, probably because that's the platform that most people aren't familiar with him on, and thus he has the chance to be exposed to the freshest audience there. Well, that and TikTok. Oh yeah, Destery makes fun of cancel culture on his TikTok too.
So I'm looking for a new brush, because mine's pretty messed up. This Kristen S one looks pretty good, but I heard that their CEO back in 2004 shot someone, so I can't buy that one. Oh, here's one. It's nice and firm. Oh, Con Air. That's a terrible movie. I can't buy that one. I'd go with this one, but I once heard that the cousin of the CEO of Ace once said the N-word, so I definitely can't buy that one. And don't even get me started with Goody. I once heard that someone in their HR department doesn't drink unpasteurized milk, so you know what? I'm just not gonna get a brush today.
I'm not here to nitpick Destery's taste in movies and video games or his home decor. I would have a cool glass nerd shelf too, except for Pokemon cards. But for now, all my little treasures are contained to some binders. I quite like these things. My friends live in them. Look, Lugia. What I'm here to do overall is to highlight Destery's consistent patterns of behavior. 1. Destery dances around the details of the allegations. The only time I can see him even mention them directly was in that response to that Defizzy viewer. He makes no great effort to be transparent with his audience. 2. Destery constantly tries to make himself out to be the bigger person. Newsflash, the person who really takes the high road doesn't usually brag about it.
Anyone online is always guilty until proven innocent, and I can't support that idea. And as such, I know that a ton of people have already made up their minds about this situation, and even if I was to explain context of some of the things being said about me, not only would it not help people's image of me, but it would also be dragging someone else's name through the mud. And that is just something I can't do.
Disprove literally every single thing that people are saying about me, or like add context to everything, or even in some cases be like, I have never heard of this person, I don't know this person, or anything. I guess eventually I just decided, like, what is the point? Because all that it's going to achieve is shifting the blame. To drag someone else's name in the mud in the same way that, you know, mine had been.
When you're a YouTuber, or really just anyone on the internet, there are a lot of things that, like, really are no one's business. And when they are made public business and only from one point of view, people assume a lot of shit. That was also a situation where I didn't feel like I really owed people the nitty-gritty details of who wronged me, how they wronged me, all of that. The one thing that I am absolutely making sure that I stick to is being true to myself and not lowering myself just because I'm hurt, you know, not dragging anyone's name through the mud, involving people that don't need to be involved.
That last clip is from another unlisted video from a different Destery channel that I found in my research called Destery Dumps. I haven't seen a lot of other people talking about it, but the rest of the video is Destery talking about his mental health. And I'm not here to rag on anybody's mental health. If Destery has mental health struggles, I hope he gets whatever help and support that he needs. What I am here to call out is the fact that Destery has had years to change and be better, and he used them to levy the power of his platform against others for his own pleasure. And that brings us to our last point. Number 3, Destery shows no signs of stopping his online presence. And because of who he is, this poses a massive threat. Destery's presence is a threat to his returning audience members who might not have heard of him in years, and to new fans that might find him either through Shane or his TikTok or any of his other platforms. Because these people may be more inclined to not dig too deep into his history, or be quick to take his word at face value, and that becomes a huge risk, because it allows Destery to grow an even bigger audience, it potentially brings more hate to the victims who are already being called attention-seeking, and it only serves to make Destery feel that because he has all these new people around him and the echo chamber of his comments, that he is released from the duty of providing evidence. Destery shrugs off providing evidence time after time because according to him, he doesn't need to drag other people's names through the dirt to prove his innocence. And him doing that alone should be what we take as irrefutable proof that he must be telling the truth. Mate, wanting people to blindly trust you in the face of a bunch of people with consistent narratives supported by evidence feels just a little manipulative. It preys on the parasocial bond that sometimes forms between creator and viewer. It leaves the audience no room to have their own opinion and makes viewers who try to question you or speak up feel ostracized in the community. And it's certainly not welcoming to those outside of the community either. But hey, it's not like I'm in Destery's community. I'm certainly not breaking down the door to get in, and I don't think Destery has any intention of letting me in to begin with. Yeah, I realize I was basically asking for that one in the last video, but I'm not sure what this achieves because I'll let you in on a secret. I'm in. I've spent the better part of a year, it'll be 2 years coming this February, following this topic. But as long as Destery continues to be shady, as long as he continues to disrespect the brave people coming forward and disrespect his audience with his dishonesty, I will keep talking about it. Destery Smith, you fail to be the positivity that you so claim that you want to spread in this world. You could be so much more and have so many more people behind you if you hadn't been using your ooh-woo positivity as a cover for cheating, lying, and predatory behavior. Shane Dawson, you fail your own audience by either failing to properly research the people that you platform or by willfully ignoring the circumstances surrounding the people that you do business with. Either of those is an insult to you and to your audience's intelligence. Shame on the both of you. And that's everything that I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and share this video around. Spread the word. Make sure everyone knows about this guy. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good rest of your day and an even better tomorrow. I love you, and before you say it back, look in the mirror and say it to yourself. And I will see you in the next episode of whatever I make. And until next time, this has been the Hot Box. Bye!
Oh, boy!
This channel is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Click the link, please. I need to buy bread.
Everything's fine, cause the merch in the store is hot, it's burning, it's trending, I'm buying. Everything's fine, cause the merch in the store. I miss the outside where somebody can save me. What's he gonna do with all that stuff? You can wear it or burn it or give it to your dog. Everything is fine, cause the merch in the store is hot, it's burning, it's trending, I'm buying.
I'm going fucking nowhere.
I don't know if you can hear the bass coming from the downstairs neighbors. We live next to fucking Deadmau5.
It's 1 p.m. on a Tuesday.
It really is. Now let's groove tonight. Dun dun. Yeah.